we're going to do a business case on how Jonas Software incorporated web content management into an existing SaaS product. So, different from the previous presentation, we are the cloud, or at least a smaller version of it. So the intent is anybody who's interested in using content management in a software service model. So just a bit of context on who we are, because it's kind of relevant for some of the later stuff. We're a software company. We've got 20 distinct brands across 8 vertical niches. Now what we do is we tend to dominate those niches. So we're really big in construction, really big in the golf and country club industry, which is the department that I actually work for. We've actually got a number of products that are sort of similar yet different, and it's actually fairly common for us to be responding to an RFP with multiple products actually competing against each other. So quite big. The team that I work for is called Clubhouse Online. Now this is the actual SaaS part. So it is the hub that sort of glues all of these other products together. So if you're a member and you want to book a tea time or something like that, you go to the Clubhouse Online product, book the tea time, send it to the back end. And one of the other comments I'm going to make is, I mean, considering this audience, I'm not expecting to make sort of any sales from this unless you happen to own a golf club, which you do.
Like just one club in the bag, or like?
No, I mean
oh,
the course,
club.
The whole course, yes. So back in 2009, we decided that we wanted to really replace our current CMS infrastructure. We had a customer in one, weren't really happy with it, and really wanted to sort of replace it with something that was a best-of-breed solution. We really didn't want to recreate the wheel. It was one of the big things. So we did a fairly detailed vendor analysis, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what we did for the analysis, just because I know you're talking about it at 4:15, but I want to just focus on reasons we rejected certain vendors. So a lot of them we rejected just because we had a budget, and they were above our price range. But a big thing was actually per domain cost. So if you had to buy a license for each domain, every time we got a customer, we didn't want to go back to them for that license. We also rejected them just because it's bad technological fit. To talk about Drupal before, well, we really want something that was Microsoft.NET based, because all of our infrastructure we built so far was all .NET. There were some where they just wouldn't work in a SaaS model, and I'm actually going to talk about that in more detail on the next slide. And there was some where we just didn't like their features or they're implemented in a funny way. So we ended up with these 4 at the end. So Umbraco, we really liked the price, i.e. free. Ectron, we had actually some fairly significant architectural and stability problems, and we weren't comfortable moving forward with them. Sitecore was actually our vendor of choice for quite a long time, but the more we dealt with them on the business side, the more and more the price went up, and then we had a couple of terrible customer references. And you should sort of vet your references before you get into your potential customers. So we ended up choosing Kentico, and just had a great set of features, great performance, great usability, and the nicest thing for us was that you could purchase the source code. It was a huge advantage to us. So, starting to talk a little bit about the SaaS side, just a little explanation for those people who don't know what multi-tenancy is as a concept. What it means is a fancy way of saying, well, everybody's running on one set of servers, but each one is a separate little silo. So it's really, really key that each one feels like they're their own silo. Otherwise, you don't want to have somebody sharing each other's data or anything. Like, they need to really get that sort of personal experience. There's a lot of theories around multi-tenancy, but it's all very sort of data-centric, and none of it is very content-centric, which is obviously what we're talking about here. And what I mean by that is something simple as a URL, right? You've got as you grab this from MSDN, you've got an ID in there. Well, in a normal system, if you get that ID wrong, it just says, oh, page not found. But if you are in a SaaS model and you're sharing this infrastructure with people, somebody fat fingers and types in the wrong ID, you could actually be showing somebody else's content. So, a classic example is you've got Shady Oaks Golf Club, but you've got the Diablo Golf Club logo at the top. So we had to make sure that any product we were using, everything was done with a name basis on the end, and that includes images. Any of the controls or any of the content you get had to be done that way and relative to the domain. We also had a lot of almost everyone we looked at. Real names, for example, were unique across the entire system, but I'm sure I'm not the only Randar Puust out there, I think. So there might be another one of another club. Now, I want my login to be our Puust at this club, but the other person wants our Puust at that club as well. So what we actually have to do is sort of preface usernames with a little ID to sort of say it belongs to this site. But you don't want to see that. I don't log in as 123 our Puust. So all of that, we have to change all the screens that had usernames and sort of hide them all. And it was actually one of the things where we went back to Kentico and got them to actually extend their product. So one of the hook, you could just sort of mask the username. Roles was actually something of an interest to us. In a normal CMS system, you've got maybe the content editor's role and the administrator's role. That's really about it. But what we needed was a set of roles that actually applies to just this one club. And it's, they can't have any permissions to any other club. They are also not very technically savvy. So it needed to be sort of a very simple to use interface. And the reality is they're remote. We were talking latency before. I mean, it's one of the things where it has to be very fast user interface because we have literally clubs in South Africa. On the flip side, our Jonas staff, we just want one set of roles to manage, but they need the same permissions across every single site. They're power users. They want nice and rich, and they're also local. I mean, they have to connect to the data center, but we got a fast connection, so not really a problem. In a normal CMS, site creation is not really a big thing. You create your site once you're done. In a CMS, or sorry, in a SaaS world, you could be creating 5 sites a day. So we really needed something where we could very, very quickly create a site. Our own staff didn't need developer help. So one of the things that Kentico had, which was nice for us, was this wizard type interface, and we could actually extend it and put our own steps in between. They also had very powerful tools for managing the sites, things like the domain and the aliases. Once again, no developer involvement; they could do it all on their own. One of the neat things they had was this idea of default content. So as you create the site, it creates a set of pages: your home page, your login, your change password, the generic stuff. There's also a site template concept, which allows it when the site's created, you can say, well, I'm a golf course, or I'm a country club, or I'm a yacht club, and sort of give different content. It also gave us a way to restrict the set of templates that a site would have, so that we could sort of say, use these templates when you're creating content, not these hidden system ones. Creates roles, which I sort of talked about before, and we're a global system, so pick the language for the site. So I think I mentioned before, I forgot, but CMS is actually only a part of our overall offering. It's actually a very small part. We've actually got a number of modules sort of sitting around it, tea times, dining, event management, all these things. So we really wanted, a very integrated experience. And the users of the system are customers of Jonas, not of Kentico. So one of the first things we did, realizing that, is we rebranded everything. So used to say CMS Desk, now it's Club Central. We also put a number of customizations in just for functionality that was very specific to our system. And we actually went as far as changing the help file that Kentico provided. So, if it says contact Kentico for more information, sorry, that's gone, and replaced with please contact Jonas Software. We also removed any of the pages that was functionality was stripped out. All of the, when we were looking at the CMSs during the vendor analysis, we kept thinking, well, how do we take this and sort of shove it into Clubhouse Online? Like, how do we fit it in there? But the further and further we actually went down the road with Kentico, we actually realized it was actually a fairly open architecture, and they sort of allowed you to put pages in. And we went actually and completely changed our mentality and took our components and actually posted them within Kentico. So if you can see in the diagram there, you've got the top 2 that are just sort of default Kentico ones. We've hidden a bunch of other ones, but everything else underneath that is all ours, and it's all running within the same environment. We actually went as far as rebranding everything so that it looks like Kentico, so it's easier that way. So we really wanted to give them a sort of single user experience, and they wouldn't get confused as they were hopping back and forth between the systems. So I'm going to talk a little bit about template management. I'm myself meant to. That's good. Oh, perfect. Okay. Templates. When I say templates, I assume everybody knows what I'm talking about conceptually from, this is a CMS user group thing, so. Template decisions that you make in a SaaS product are the ones that are going to make you very happy, or the ones that you are sort of crying over years and years later, you know, as the system sort of scales up. And one of the biggest decisions you can make is, are the templates associated with the site, or are they shared across the entire system? And let me explain why. It's a little bit of fiddling around, I think, to understand. But if you decide to take that template and associate it with the site, and you make a mistake, you've broken one site. A and B, C, D are just the sites here. So you just break the one. But let's say a customer wants to do something very specific to them. Well, you've got that flexibility. You can just muck around with it, do anything specific to them, no problem. If you decide to associate it across the entire system, you end up in a situation where you could be changing a template for one customer, and you're actually breaking it across the entire system. Customers don't like that. And customers really don't like it when you tell them, sorry, as we were modifying one of your competitors, we broke your site. They really don't like that. So there's also significant advantages to the shared model. So the biggest one is maintenance. Let's say you want to add a new web part to the template, you know, a year down the road. It can literally mean the difference between changing a dozen templates or 1,000 templates. And just from a performance point of view, less templates in memory, bigger, faster, blah, blah, blah. So what did we do for Clubhouse Online? We took a bit of a hybrid approach. The first decision is that every customer gets a home template, and that can be modified as much as they want. And this is for their home page, and can be very, very customized and do whatever you want with it. We also gave them one master template, which sort of defines the look and feel across the entire site. We gave them a style sheet that actually our guys could use to do tweaks and posts to the site. But all of the other templates used by the customers to create their own content are actually shared across the entire system. All the templates used by our modules are also shared, and then we've got a set of sort of shared style sheets. I'm trying to remember how many templates we have right now. It's so brought up, like, I can't do so many of 1,000 templates. I'm like, only? So, I think that's it for this one. I'll just skip this page. Here we go. This is a sort of, I guess I'm on schedule, so I'll talk about this a little bit. I could probably spend 5 minutes on each one of these bullet points. My plan was to pretty much talk about them very briefly. If anybody's interested in any one of these, find me after. Get your ears bleed or whatever about it. When you add a module in Clubhouse Online, like D-Times thing, it'll actually go and create pages for you. So it'll create the default content. Works really well for us. Same thing, you remove the module, removes the content. So we're very tightly integrated in with them. We also decided that all template changes go through Jonas. We weren't willing to let our customers do it. Now that has more to do with our users, which I'll talk about a little bit, but they're just not skilled enough. 3 sort of Kentico things. I don't think it's using Kentico as a CMS, but some of the terminology here is Kentico specific. We made a mistake that I really regret now. You've got your content, you've got your template, and you have a layout. And so the layout is sort of the structure that you can use with a template. We really should have shared all the layouts across all of these guys, and we didn't. And we're sort of regretting it now, and we're trying to reverse that decision. So this is one of the ones where we regretted 2 years later. Document types, really powerful for defining the information architecture of a site. Just ensures things like a golf hole page is sitting underneath a golf course page. So very nice for defining those types of things. Widgets, very cool feature, got introduced in 5.0 or 5.5. We're going to leverage them much more when 6.0 comes out. Just let our customers change things on the site. So this is, in a CMS context, this might seem redundant, but word of warning, online content is coming from multiple places and they're not always under your control, especially in a SaaS world. You've got your code your developers do, you've got your templates that your graphics guys do, you've got the customer-specific ones that the implementation team does, you've got the content that was created before the site went live. But then after that, your customer has access to the system, and they're adding content all the time. You end up in these situations where they sort of clash every once in a while. We were we had the forethought of this, thank goodness. We actually put a lot of, we put a lot of processes into place. And Kentico has all the right tools, but it doesn't have the process. The process is your responsibility. You really have to come up with that yourself and make sure that it's enforced. And the other thing is make sure everything is logged. There's been enough times where a customer says, "What did you do to my site?" And I say, "We didn't do anything. You did on this date at this time." And it's been really valuable for the finger pointing stuff. So our biggest challenges, honestly, are end users. Now it sounds kind of something a software architect would say, an assistant great for users, but the problem with our users is that they're remote, for one. So we're not really close and can ask them questions. They're a very diverse skill set. You've got the people who are like, "What's a mouse?" to the person who's like, "I want full file access to your machine and I want everything." It's like, no, you're not getting it, you're sharing your environment. Turnover. Somebody gets trained and they leave. Somebody replaces them. They don't know how to use the system. And unless somebody sort of flags it as requirement training, which is my solution, what did we do to get around it? Customized help I talked about. We've got a knowledge base, which we even sort of put together, got released a little while ago. Training and retraining is an option. So even though your training is done, you have an option of coming back. Good for the turnover. And I think a big help has been, instead of just saying, "Here's your tools, have fun," we've created the initial site for them as a template, and then they can go and sort of enhance and expand it. Templates as a whole, just there's been so many scenarios and trying to manage them all and figure out all the right stuff. As I said, we're still tweaking it 2 years later. Things I would recommend: share everything that you possibly can. Unless there's a real reason for putting it online, don't. Use tools as much as possible for publishing, things like that, and define your processes. As I said, performance. We actually became victims of our own success. Could be worse. We were fine, and then as we grew and grew and grew and grew, we sort of saw performance degradation. So we actually did a few things. The biggest thing was we didn't really take account caching properly. Kentico actually has a very, very powerful caching model. A little confusing, very powerful. So we actually leveraged it during one rewrite and then redid it again on the second rewrite. And the performance difference has been huge. Plan to scale up and out. We just increased the number of servers about a month ago. And one thing that a couple people have said is, it's never frozen in time. Always go back and refactor. So just before the golf season this year, we said, "Hey, what's our slowest pages? Okay, let's go find them. Let's figure out what's wrong with them, rewrite them, or whatever it's taken." We also have a challenge with our legacy system. We're maintaining 2 of them right now still. We're trying to get people off the old one, moving to the new one as quickly as possible. And one of the things is we don't say it's this or else. We give multiple options. You can either migrate over and make it look like the old one, or you can go through a sort of a silver level rewrite or a full gold level rewrite where everything's redone. We wrote a tool for doing that migration. Gets us about 80% of the way there. But we've also got a guy who sort of is responsible for all that manual cleanup. And there's, he finds a new scenario every couple of weeks because the old system did no validation. So, where are we now? It took us 4 months to find Kentico from the beginnings of vendor selection. We launched Clubhouse Online 5 months later, which was pretty impressive. We did it with 9 developers, 5 admins, 4 content editors. One thing I was really proud of, because it was a bit controversial at the time, but we didn't spend a single dollar on any content management consultants. And after 2 years, we got 500 sites, 800 domains, 90,000 users, 1.1 million members, and we're expecting to get 2,000 sites within 2 years. Sounds ambitious, but it's realistic because we're pulling customers from our old system, and we're getting new customers all the time. And sort of as a closing statement, I guess I wanted to make, content management has really increased the sale of Jonas. And one of the interesting things is it's made the Jonas suite very sticky. What I mean by that is the retention rate of a customer using both Clubhouse Online and the Jonas back office is significantly higher than somebody who's just using the Jonas product. What happens is the members use the online presence, they get used to it. The club doesn't want to change it under the members fee because they're the one paying the bills and whatnot. So So what happens is that locks in our product, which in turn locks in the back office product, and it keeps it all sort of in this nice, profitable model, I guess is the best way to put it. So, Clubhouse Online combined with Kentico, it's been a great success story. I think it's a good example of how SaaS and project management can work together. It's added a lot of value to our customers, and it's helped our bottom line. So, thank you, and I hope you found it interesting. So, I guess, do I have time for questions?
Yeah, we have 1 or 2 minutes.
Since you white labeled Kentico for your product, does that lock you out as Kentico moves forward and they upgrade their product and move on? Do you have to buy upgrades back from them to apply to your system?
Fair maintenance fee, but it's a good question also because we've done things like change the source code here and there. And we put in policies into place that when developers do changes to the source code, they'll do things like to wrap it up in a region tag so that when we're actually doing the comparison, when we get a hotfix, we can just sort of apply on top, oh, there's our source code, there's stuff. I'm still responsible for doing pretty much all of those updates. The latest hotfix comes out, I can update our code now. Not bad.
Can you elaborate a little more on what you would recommend would be the right way to handle the templates? I was actually quite interested in that. You talked about, wouldn't do that again.
Buy me a beer. The big thing is, and we stumbled our way through it, and like I said, there was no guidance really from any publications out there. So we sort of, I definitely would recommend the hybrid way. I mean, just finding the right balance. I mean, we sort of said, and we argued for a long time, well, does everybody get one set of templates, or does everybody share the templates? And we argue about it. We're like, well, what about this scenario? What about this scenario? And every time we come up with a scenario, we're like, well, let's just create the exception. And as I said before, like religiously try to share everything across the system until you have no choice but to put them on an island.
Are you using any particular cloud infrastructure, or is it your own server?
Rackspace.
Using Rackspace?
Yeah, and I could also do a presentation on Rackspace if you'd like. But no, we've been very, very happy with it. We had some load testing servers at Amazon EC2, so we're like, oh, glad we didn't put our real stuff there. We are using a set of virtual servers sitting on a hypervisor, and then we've got 2 physical database servers. We just don't fully trust the virtual environment. But yeah, it's all Rackspace, and Rackspace has been amazing to deal with, I have to say. We're really impressed with them. I give them a like, I guess, social technology.
Okay, thank you, Randar.